By Friday, our reality had been systematically dismantled. The first thing that truly breaks through your consciousness is the silence. It's not just quiet, it's a deep, profound void of sound that feels heavy, pressing in on you from all sides. The familiar, ambient hum of modern life, the refrigerator, the furnace, the distant traffic was simply gone, erased. That deep quiet was punctuated only by the relentless, mournful howl of the wind outside and the unsettling creaking of our house as it lost its long war with the encroaching cold. The grid wasn't just down for repairs. Cascading failures had systematically crippled it across 3 states, a domino effect of catastrophic collapse. With the electricity went the water pumps, leaving our taps dry and our toilets useless. Cell towers went dark, severing our last connection to the outside world. The store shelves, we later heard, had been stripped bare within the first 48 hours by a wave of panic buying that dwarfed our own meager efforts. Our home, normally a sanctuary of warmth and light, had devolved into a dark, frigid box. The temperature inside was visibly dropping, our breath misting in the air, frost beginning to creep across the inside of the windows. It was in that bone-deep cold, with the suffocating weight of an uncertain future pressing in, that we stumbled upon a powerful, transformative truth. We realized our family's most valuable possessions weren't the jewelry in the drawer or the emergency cash in the safe. They were the simple, mundane winter items we'd always taken for granted, the things we bought on sale and stuffed in closets. These were the items that were now, without a shred of exaggeration, worth infinitely more than gold. Number 1. The humble tarp, your first line of defense. We learned our first brutal lesson on Wednesday night. In a desperate attempt to conserve warmth, we had all moved into the living room, naively thinking that huddling together under a pile of blankets would be enough to fend off the deepening chill. It wasn't. The large, beautiful bay window that normally flooded the room with light had become our greatest enemy, a massive thermal leak that was hemorrhaging heat. The cold wasn't just in the air, it was radiating from the glass like a physical force, an invisible wave that passed through our clothes and settled deep in our bones. My son, Leo, wrapped in 2 thick blankets, was shivering uncontrollably, and a primal panic started to creep into my mind, as cold and quiet as the frost forming on the window panes. My mind raced through useless solutions. We couldn't heat the whole house. We couldn't even heat a single room. Then, a memory sparked. A faint image of a cheap, blue, crinkly thing I'd tossed in the back of the garage months ago. It was a 10 by 12-foot polyethylene tarp, something I think I paid $15, maybe $20 for. Retrieving it from the frigid garage was an ordeal, my fingers stiffening as I wrestled with the frozen plastic. But with Sarah's help, we used a roll of duct tape to secure it over the entire bay window. The effect was immediate and astonishing. The intense radiating cold was cut off instantly. But we didn't stop there. A realization dawned on us. We weren't fighting to warm the house. We were fighting to hold onto a tiny, livable pocket of warmth. That simple, inexpensive piece of plastic had become our shield, the first piece of our new fortress against the polar vortex. Number 2. The tent inside the room. Inspired by our success with the window, we took the concept further. We weren't just defending against the cold, we had to actively create a space where our own body heat could accumulate and sustain us. That's when we decided to build a tent inside our living room. We had a smaller tarp from my old camping gear, and we draped it over our heavy oak dining table, letting the edges hang all the way to the floor. We used books and other heavy objects to weigh down the sides, creating a sealed-off micro-shelter right in the middle of our home. We moved the sofa cushions inside to create a soft, insulated floor, and all 4 of us, myself, Sarah, and our 2 kids piled in with every blanket we could find. The change was profound. Suddenly, our combined body heat was being trapped in that small, confined space. The air inside the makeshift tent wasn't toasty, not by any stretch of the imagination, but it was noticeably, crucially warmer than the rest of the house. It was the critical difference between lying awake, shivering violently, and actually being able to fall into a fitful, but necessary, sleep. That cheap piece of plastic had become the most valuable thing we owned. A simple tarp is worth more than gold because it's a force multiplier for survival. It's a shelter in a bag. You can use it to seal a broken window or a drafty door, instantly saving precious heat. As we proved, you can create a micro-shelter inside a larger cold space to concentrate body heat. Outside, it's an immediate roof against snow and a barrier against brutal winds. The grommets on the edges allow you to string it up with rope, creating an A-frame or lean-to shelter in minutes. It can be a water collector, a ground barrier, or even a sled. Number 3. The gospel of layering. Before the outage, we were under the illusion that we owned good winter clothes. Our closets were filled with thick ski jackets, stylish wool coats, and a seemingly endless supply of cotton hoodies and sweatshirts. We quickly and harshly learned that in a true survival scenario, most of what we owned was not just inadequate, but dangerously so. Style means absolutely nothing when the temperature is dropping and your life is on the line. The insidious problem began with sweat. It's a paradox of winter survival. Even when it's freezing, the simple act of moving around, performing tasks like gathering supplies or reinforcing the tarp, generates moisture. We discovered that our cotton-based layers, our t-shirts and thermals would become damp. The moment we would sit still, that trapped dampness would turn against us, chilling our skin and then beginning to freeze, actively pulling precious heat away from our bodies. It was then we understood the old saying among outdoorsmen, "Cotton kills." It isn't just a catchy phrase, it's a deadly serious warning. Cotton loses all of its insulating properties the moment it gets wet. The real gold in a winter crisis isn't a single thick, bulky jacket. It's a system of smart layers. This is perhaps the most critical concept for winter survival, and each piece of this system is priceless. We had to abandon our fashionable coats and relearn how to dress from the skin out, trading vanity for pure, unadulterated function. We looked at our expensive, useless fashion coats piled in a corner, and then at our functional, layered outfits. We'd traded vulnerability for resilience, and in doing so, we had taken a massive step toward securing our own survival against the relentless cold. Number 4. The 3-layer survival system. The layering system we adopted is built on 3 distinct parts, each with a specific job. First is the base layer, the one that sits right up against your skin. Its only purpose is to wick moisture away from your body to keep you dry. This is where materials like merino wool or high-quality synthetics such as polyester and polypropylene are absolute kings. Merino wool is the undisputed gold standard. It's exceptionally breathable, it insulates even when damp, and most importantly, it's naturally odor-resistant, a benefit that becomes more valuable than you can possibly imagine after days without running water or showers. We were fortunate to have a couple of sets of merino wool thermals from an old camping trip, and putting them on was a revelation. We were instantly warmer, and more importantly, drier than we had been in any of our thick cotton sweaters. The second part is the mid-layer, which is your primary insulation. Its job is to trap the heat your body is generating in a layer of air. Fleece and down are perfect for this role. A good fleece jacket is a treasure because it's lightweight, it breathes well to let moisture escape, and it continues to insulate even if it gets a little damp. We had fleece pullovers for the whole family, and they essentially became our second skin. We lived in them, day and night. Finally, there's the outer layer, or the shell. This layer's job is to protect you from the elements. It must be windproof and waterproof. It stops the wind from stripping away your precious heat and keeps rain and snow from compromising your insulating mid-layers. A simple Gore-Tex shell is far more valuable than a bulky coat that can't block the wind. The beauty of this system is its adaptability. If you're working up a sweat, you can remove the shell to vent heat. When you stop, you put it back on to trap that warmth. Number 5. The gift of fire and light, conquering the dark. By the second night, the darkness was absolute. It was a profound, suffocating blackness that felt like a physical presence, a heavy blanket that swallowed every object and every ray of hope. With that total darkness came a deep, primal fear. Our fear of the dark is an ancient survival instinct, a hardwired reminder that we are vulnerable, that predators hunt in the night. In the suffocating cold of our powerless home, the psychological toll of that complete and utter darkness was immense. It frayed our nerves and magnified our sense of isolation. This is where another class of simple items proved their immeasurable worth. Anything that could create fire and light. It's not about a single item, but a hierarchy of them. At the absolute foundation of this hierarchy is ignition. You can have a mountain of perfectly dry firewood, but if you cannot create a spark, it's just a useless pile of wood. Cheap, disposable Bic lighters and waterproof matches are the undisputed kings here. A simple lighter is a miracle of modern engineering we take completely for granted. And the multi-pack we had in a kitchen drawer became our lifeline. As a backup, we had a ferrocerium rod from a camping kit. A ferro rod is an essential failsafe. It works when wet, it works when freezing cold, and it will throw a shower of thousands of hot sparks thousands of times. It's a reliable tool that never runs out of fuel or fails you. Once you can make a spark, you need something to burn, which is a multi-stage process. First is tinder, something that catches a spark and bursts into flame. We made our own by mixing cotton balls with petroleum jelly, a classic prepper's trick that works incredibly well. Next is kindling, which we made by using a knife to shave thin curls off small twigs, creating feather sticks with highly flammable surfaces. Finally, the long-term fuel, firewood. Number 6, illuminating hope in the darkness. Fire provides light, but you cannot always have a roaring fire burning inside your home, especially not within a makeshift tarp tent. This is where other, more controlled light sources become invaluable assets, not just for practical reasons, but for psychological ones. Never, ever underestimate the simple, profound power of a candle. In that oppressive, suffocating darkness, a single flickering flame becomes a beacon of hope. It pushes back the shadows just enough, allowing you to see the faces of your loved ones, reassuring you that you are not alone. It's a small detail that provides an incredible psychological boost, a flicker of normalcy in a world turned upside down. We had a box of emergency candles, and we would light just one inside our little tarp tent. That tiny flame was enough to make us feel human again. For actually getting things done, however, nothing beats an LED flashlight or, even better, a headlamp. A headlamp is vastly superior because it leaves both of your hands free, an absolute necessity whether you're navigating a treacherous, dark basement, splitting kindling, or trying to repair something in the gloom. But these powerful tools have a critical weakness. They are entirely worthless without batteries. Stockpiling common battery sizes like AA and AAA is a non-negotiable aspect of preparedness. Batteries are consistently one of the very first things to vanish from store shelves in any emergency, becoming a currency all their own. That second night, huddled in our tarp tent with a single candle burning for morale and a powerful headlamp ready for any task, we felt like we had clawed our way back from the brink of despair. Light was more than just photons, it was morale. Fire was more than a chemical reaction, it was controlled. It was the power to hold back the cold and the dark. And in that moment, that power was the most precious thing in the world. Number 7, the sleep system. You can go for a surprisingly long time without food and a few days without water, but you cannot survive for long without quality sleep. Severe sleep deprivation dismantles your ability to think clearly, to make rational decisions, and to regulate your emotions. In a crisis situation, your mind is your single greatest weapon, the tool that allows you to assess, adapt, and overcome. Without sleep, your mind quickly becomes your greatest liability, prone to mistakes and despair. The biggest enemy of sleep in a winter blackout isn't the cold air around you, it's the cold ground beneath you. This is a critical piece of physics that most people fail to understand. The frozen earth, or even just a cold floor, is a massive heat sink. If you lie on it, even with a mountain of thick blankets piled on top of you, it will relentlessly and efficiently suck the warmth from your body all night long through a process called conduction. A proper, insulated sleep system is therefore priceless. It's not a luxury, it's a life-sustaining necessity. The system has two core parts. The first, and the unsung hero, is the sleeping pad. Its main job isn't comfort, it's insulation. It creates a barrier of trapped air between your body and the ground, dramatically slowing that conductive heat loss. Pads are rated by an R value for thermal resistance. The higher the number, the better it insulates. For winter conditions, you want an R value of 4 or higher. We were incredibly lucky to have a couple of self-inflating camping pads with an R value of 5. The difference was night and day. Once you stop the ground from stealing your heat, you need to trap the heat your body produces. This is the job of sleeping bags and blankets, especially wool blankets. A true miracle fiber that insulates even when damp. Number 8. The essential tools. In a world suddenly stripped of its power, all of our complex, modern tools become expensive paperweights. Your electric drill, your table saw, your high-tech kitchen gadgets, all of them are rendered instantly useless. In their place, simple, ancient tools reassert their absolute dominance. Two of these are so fundamental and so versatile that their value becomes immeasurable in a crisis. A good, fixed-blade knife and a quality multi-tool. If I could choose only one tool to have in a survival situation, it would be a robust, fixed-blade knife. I'm not talking about some giant, intimidating movie prop. A simple, sturdy, full-tang knife, meaning the blade's metal runs all the way through the handle for maximum strength, is a powerful tool of creation and adaptation. A knife like the Mora Companion, an inexpensive Swedish blade trusted by survival experts worldwide, is a perfect example. Its value is its incredible versatility. Our knife was never idle. Its most critical role was fire preparation. We used it to split small logs into kindling by batoning, a technique where you strike the knife's spine with another piece of wood to drive the blade through a log. We used its sharp edge to shave feather sticks to catch a spark. It was the key that unlocked the warmth stored in the wood. It was also our primary shelter and repair tool, used to cut rope for our tarp shelter and to modify gear. While the fixed-blade knife is a master specialist, the multi-tool is the ultimate jack of all trades, a veritable toolbox in your pocket. We had a Leatherman in the car's glove box, and it was a godsend. The integrated pliers were its most used feature, perfect for handling hot pot lids off the fire or tightening loose fittings. The wire cutters, the screwdrivers, the can opener, all proved invaluable for countless small repairs. Number 9. The lessons from the dark. The power came back on a Tuesday, exactly 2 weeks after it went out. The return wasn't gradual. It was instantaneous. A lineman down the street, a hero in a bucket truck, flipped a switch, and the world we knew flickered back to life. The hum of the refrigerator returned with a jolt, a sound so familiar yet so alien. The lights came on, blindingly bright to our dark-adjusted eyes. The oppressive silence was shattered, and the return to normalcy was profoundly disorienting. We stood there in our living room, looking at the remnants of our ordeal, the tarp still taped over the window, the makeshift tent and nest of blankets still on the floor. It felt like stepping out of one reality and into another. If you've found this story valuable and it's making you think differently about your own preparedness, do us a small favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. We share practical, real-world knowledge that can make a genuine difference when it matters most. Your support helps us get this critical information out to more people who need to hear it. And let us know in the comments, what's your most underrated winter survival item? We read all of them. In the weeks that followed, we couldn't shake the lessons learned from the cold and the dark. We learned that preparedness isn't about hoarding gadgets. It's about understanding fundamental principles of survival. It's knowing you need to stay dry, get off the cold ground, and layer your clothing properly. It's about having simple, robust, multi-use items and, most importantly, knowing how to use them with skill and ingenuity. The experience changed us, making us more resilient, more aware, and more capable than we ever believed. The items we talked about aren't just for a polar vortex. They are the foundations of security for any crisis that disrupts normal life. They are the items that, when everything else fails, truly become worth more than gold. The power came back on a Tuesday, exactly 2 weeks after it went out. A lineman down the street, a hero in a bucket truck, flipped a switch, and the world we knew flickered back to life. The hum of the refrigerator returned. The lights came on, blindingly bright. The silence was broken. It was a strange, disorienting moment. We stood in our living room, looking at the remnants of our ordeal, the tarp still over the window, the nest of blankets still on the floor. It felt like stepping out of one reality and into another. In the weeks that followed, we couldn't shake the lessons from the cold and the dark. We looked at our stuff differently. The expensive electronics seemed frivolous, the jewelry, meaningless. The real treasures were the things that saw us through. The wool blankets, the headlamps, the simple knife. We learned that preparedness isn't about hoarding gadgets or building a bunker. It's about understanding fundamental principles. It's knowing you need to stay dry. It's knowing you need to get off the ground. It's knowing you need to layer. It's about having simple, robust, multi-use items and, most importantly, knowing how to use them. The most powerful item isn't something you can buy. It's the skill and ingenuity you build. The experience changed us. We're more resilient now, more aware. We understand that our comfortable world is more fragile than we ever imagined. But we also understand that we are more capable than we ever believed. Look, the items we talked about aren't just for a polar vortex. They're for any crisis that disrupts normal life, a hurricane, an earthquake, an economic tremor. They are the foundations of security. They are the items that, when everything else fails, truly become worth more than gold. Because when survival is on the line, the things that keep you warm, keep you dry, give you light, and give you the ability to create and repair are the only things with any real value at all. Stay safe and stay prepared.